How's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope, What the Fuck is Going On in the Universe, for August 17th through August 23rd of the best year in the world, 2020. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. I'm very excited you guys can be here with me this week. We have a lot to talk about. We're just going to jump straight into it. Monday, starting on Monday, Moon enters Leo. Starting off or kind of beginning that new moon in Leo phase that we're going to see. I think, the new moon in Leo will be on Tuesday. However, moon goes into Leo. That new moon pretty much starts to begin. However, also on Monday, it's the Mercury Cazimi at 25 degrees Leo, making a trine by about a degree to Mars at 24 degrees Aries. And so the big thing here on Monday, this is really, really exciting, and this is something I want to drill through your guys' skulls this week, is that this is like that moment of clarity. This is kind of like, all right, I'm seeing a vision, and not necessarily I'm seeing a vision, right? Like, this isn't Super Jupiter. This is solar. This is the sun, right? Like, I can see myself. I can understand myself. I can see in the light, right? Like, Mercury is basically being purified by the sun here in Leo. And with Mercury in Leo, there's a dramatic realization. There's a certain perspective that we can kind of see ourselves in, and it's trining Mars. The thing that I really see with this Mercury Cazimi trine Mars is kind of like having a lot of clarity on your why. Like, why are you doing things the way that you're doing things? Like, who are you? What does all of this stuff mean? This Mercury Cazimi is just a lot of clarity on who you are. And I say who you are specifically because when it comes to stuff like Leo, it has to do with authenticity, like your ego. And with Mercury conjoining it, there's this realization of or clarity of purpose, of how you feel about yourself, of just feeling, naturally, or just feeling natural about yourself. I don't know. I felt like that didn't come out right. I can't think of a better way to explain it, but like, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel clear. You're going to feel authentic. You're going to feel like you have a voice. You're going to feel like you have some power and some control. And as it's trining Mars, there is this, initiative to do something with it, right? Like, it's like, oh, now I understand what I want. I understand what I want to do. I understand, what I have to do in order to, self-actualize, essentially. The problem here is that Mars is basically motionless. Mars is really slowing down. It's squaring Saturn. So this is going to be less of doing, more of feeling, because fire signs have a lot to do with feeling. I know that might be a comment out of left field for a lot of you guys, because water signs really get attached to the whole word of emotion and feeling. But fire signs is a lot of feeling, right? With especially like Leo, there's a lot of passion behind it. And so I feel like there's a lot of passion, a lot of feeling, a lot of purpose with this Mercury Cazimi trining Mars. It's motivating, it's inspiring, it's enlightening, and I think it's exciting as well. So I think as we go into Monday, especially as the moon goes into Leo, where the moon's not in Cancer, where it was like really sensitive, the moon's now in Leo, we're feeling good, we're feeling proud, we're going like, hey, it's time to do something different here, right? That's with the new moon that's going to be happening the very next day. On Tuesday, on August 18th, we'll have that new moon in Leo trining Mars while Venus sextiles Uranus. Wrong slide. So as this new moon happens, again, it's still trining Mars. This is kind of where on Monday there was a mental reset, right? Like, we're going like, oh, duh, like, this makes sense now. Now I see why I want to do this. Now I see what I want to do. This new moon in Leo is like, all right, now it's time to lay out the groundwork. Now it's time to kind of commit to that. Now it's time to align yourself with that, essentially. Full moons are when you have the sun and the moon opposite each other, right? They're highlighting a dynamic. They're highlighting one side and another side. When it comes to a new moon, everything's on one side, right? Like, we're only paying attention to one story, one side of the narrative. And with this being Leo, this new moon in Leo, this is a big attention focus on the self, on the ego, on pride, on passion, on, authenticity, on, our identity and things like that. And so this new moon in Leo can be kind of like resetting a lot of that stuff. Like, all right, who am I again? Let's get clear about who we are. Now that you feel a little bit more confident with Leo season, it's also with it trining Mars too. There's a lot of like cockiness with this transit. Like last week I said, don't be a douchebag. This week is about being like a Chad. This is definitely a Chad week. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. I know my millennial followers know. My poor boomer followers don't know what's going on. This is definitely a Chad transit. Like, embody your inner Chad and just like do what WWCD, what would Chad do, essentially. That's what I want you guys to think about on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, there is Venus sextiling Uranus. So this is exciting. Flash warning, Jesus, going back and forth. Venus sextiling Uranus, right? Venus is in Cancer. We're going like, hey, it's so funny. I was just thinking about one of the last times Venus was in Cancer, and it was such a Venus in Cancer time for me. There's a lot of like intimacy. It was like really tender. It was really nice. Venus in Cancer is just like very sensitive, right? And it's just like, you got to be sensitive, but it's nice to be sensitive, right? Like, we want to take care of that part of ourselves. And with it sextiling Uranus, like, again, Uranus, which by the way, I didn't even talk about Uranus stationing retrograde last week. I'm totally sorry about that, because I didn't even look at it, didn't even pay attention to it. And it's funny, I'm recording this on Saturday, and I have felt this Uranus station retrograde. And now that Uranus is retrograde, I just want to make a slight comment on it. This retrograde is going to be really interesting simply because the next few months are really crazy, and not a whole lot is going on with Taurus at the moment. Well, until we get to Scorpio season. But with Uranus stationing, right, this is kind of like the stuff that Uranus is moving forward on already, where there was a bunch of liberation, erratic behavior, or volatile energy. Uranus backtracking over that is kind of like seeing, it's kind of like Uranus going over a certain part is like making a test experiment and just kind of seeing what happens. Uranus retrograde is kind of going over your notes and kind of writing down all the data and kind of going like, all right, with those crazy inventions I just made or those crazy things I just did, like, what were the results of that? As Venus sextiles Uranus, there's an opportunity here where there's some type of helping hand. Like, Uranus and Taurus sextiling Venus in Cancer is a unique way of being able to connect, an innovative way of being able to find security in connection, in intimacy. Like, this could be like literally like a FaceTime date or something like that. Like, trying to get that Venus in Cancer intimacy, but in a unique, like, getting help in a unique or innovative way. So yeah, Tuesday, can't mention enough, Chad Day. Let's go ahead and jump to Wednesday. So Wednesday is a kind of a double whammy. We have both the moon ingressing into Virgo and Mercury moving into Virgo. So, whoa, okay. To go back to the chart, so at this point, Mercury will still be in Leo at this point, but Mercury does go into Virgo later on in the afternoon on Wednesday. And with the moon going into Virgo early that morning, this is where we go like, yeah, new moon in Leo, we're feeling fucking great, we're the shit. Moon goes into Virgo where, you start hyperfixating, and I mean, like, I don't know why I know a ton of you are Virgos, a ton of you are Virgo rising specifically, because for some reason, like, the most people that watch my videos are Virgo risings, I swear to God. And you guys all know what I say about you all at all your Virgo placements, like that hyperanalyzation, that fixation on stuff, that just acute awareness of detail. And as the moon goes into Virgo, there's this emotional drawn to it, right? Like, it's easy to pick apart and detail every little thing that you're feeling, every little thing that's swaying you this way or swaying you that way. And it can be really anxious. It can just make you really anxious. It can be really just overwhelming, right? Or just whelming. I like to just use the word whelm. But as the moon goes into Virgo, this is like, okay, now that we have this Leo idea, this is who we are, this is what we're feeling good. Moon in Virgo is like, okay, how do we do that now? Like, what are the little things that we need to do? What do we need to organize? What do we need to plan? We need to write a list. Moon in Virgo knows that there's never a bad time to not write a list, or there's never a bad time to write a list. That's what I meant to say. So then What's interesting though is with the moon in Virgo at first, with like Mercury and Leo, there's going to be like, yeah, like you're writing down this list, like I can do this, I can do that, I'm the best at everything. And it's going to be very like intoxicating almost with Mercury and Leo. But then as Mercury goes into Virgo with the moon in Virgo, there's this acute like almost perfection of like, okay, like having, I can't emphasize this enough. There's a lot of clarity in the next few days, especially on Wednesday, because this is also Mercury's day as Mercury ingresses, right? This is definitely a day of a lot of clarity, a lot of awareness. Mercury is still going to be underneath the beams of the sun, so it's not, you can't eat something right out of the oven, right? You got to let it cool down a little bit. That's a little bit too hot, but, Mercury going into Virgo is like that cake or whatever you're cooking in the oven right now is starting to look really, really good. As we, whoops, wrong button. As we go to, there we go. That's what I want to do. I was like, what is going on? As we go to Thursday, we're going to be having the moon then make a trine to Jupiter and Saturn as it transits Virgo. And then the moon will make an opposition to Neptune. So, there we go. So with the moon in Virgo, again, like I said before, it's kind of about, this moon in Leo, this new moon in Leo, we're just going to be feeling really confident, really good. And the time when the moon and Mercury go into Virgo is going to be like, all right, what do we have to do in order to get there? This is like about doing the math. Like Leo's like, yeah, for my birthday, I want this and I want that, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And Mercury, all the Virgo stuff is like adding up. Like, that's going to be an expensive birthday bill, Mr. or Mrs. Leo, whoever, whatever. And when you're adding shit up, oh man, there's a good meme that I could totally put right here, but I wouldn't be able to find it. But when you add shit up, sometimes shit don't add up. And as the moon is applying to Jupiter on Thursday, it's applying to Saturn, it's applying to Pluto. There's this this is like numbers are adding up, right? It's kind of like when you're doing, it's like when okay, so a better way to explain this is the moon's trining Jupiter and moon's trining Saturn, right? Numbers do add up, and when you can add, it appears to be right. But with the moon opposite Neptune at the same time, maybe you're doing the wrong math. Like I know everyone can relate to this when you're in a math class and it's like you have a problem and you think you're doing it correctly because shit's adding up, right? It's fucking numbers. But then you get the test back and you're like, oh no, you did the wrong equation or you did the wrong thing on the wrong problem. That's kind of like what Thursday kind of looks like. If you're not careful, I think. I think with the moon trining Jupiter and trining Saturn, you can do the right math, but if you're, not fucking paying attention with the moon opposite Neptune, it's going to be really easy to get confused, to not see clearly, and to not add all the numbers that you need to. Like, it's the difference between doing, two-dimensional math and three-dimensional math. Like, two-dimensional math, it's just the length and the width. Three-dimensional, you got to do length, width, depth, volume, and shit like that. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already going over your heads, but on Thursday with the moon trining everything, just add shit up and just double check your numbers. Something I used to be a geometry tutor, and something I used to do with my geometry students was just like, I just gave them the answer. I was like, there's no point into you, because also the education system is fucking stupid. But I would give them the answer of like, okay, this is the answer. Like, this is how they're getting, like, when you see this problem, this is the answer. This is the solution. Like, how do you get to that solution? Like, show me how you get there and then explain it to me. And then they would be able to explain it and then they would pass their test. It's like, it's not and sometimes in life, like, this is why I always try to tell people too, like, try to like figure out what your end goal is. Try to figure out what the answer is, and then you can figure out how you got there, right? Like, rather than trying to figure out how you're going to get to your answer or how you're going to get to your goal, just imagine your goal and work yourself backwards, right? Another, like, give yourself the answer as another way to put it. Or I don't know how every state does this, but in California, all of their textbooks, well, I think this is kind of everywhere, I don't know, but in their textbooks, all of the answers are in the back. So just check the back of the book for all the answers. I feel like that's a good way to kind of look at Thursday. Because you want to make sure you get these numbers right. Because I think this is really exciting energy here. Yes, Mars is squaring Saturn. Yes, Mars is squaring Pluto. Yes, Mars is basically motionless. But this is like, it's exciting, even though we're not moving forward exactly. It's kind of like, if you've ever bought in a house before, so my millennial ones don't get this, but my boomer following will get this one because you guys all got houses. If you've ever bought in a house, there's like a process where you got to get it appraised and valued and estimated. Then you got to go through getting a mortgage, and it's like what's funny is like things can not be happening when you're buying a house, but also like in the background things are happening really fast. So this is kind of like the point where it's like, okay, you had your house inspector go through, you got the insurance, you got the like things are starting to move forward basically, but yet but there's nothing that you're doing. You're not moving into the house tomorrow, but everything is kind of in the background that's out of your control is starting to move forward, if that makes sense. That's what this kind of looks like to me. Anyway, to Friday, Moon enters Libra. That was the only thing I could figure out that was going on Friday. I was literally looking at Friday. I'm like, there's got to be something else. Not really. The Moon just kind of moves into Libra right before the Sun enters Virgo. This is the last day of Leo season. Mars is still fucking just super slow, squaring Saturn. Moon enters Libra though, where this is where it gets really intense too, because this Moon in Libra transit is super rough. It's going to get really rough. So we should just go straight into Saturday. But Friday, this is where things are kind of like, this is the moment where, when you do the math and you get all proud of yourself and you like lay your pen or pencil down, you're like, I did it. Like, all right, cool. Things are starting to like look all right here. I think Friday's chill for the most part. Saturday, I don't know about Saturday. I don't think we could say the same about Saturday, because watch this. The Moon on Saturday will first make a square to Venus. Let's really go through this. Moon will make a square to Venus. It will then square Jupiter. It will first then oppose Mars. Speaking of Saturn, Saturn's hour. And then it will square Saturn as the Sun goes into Virgo. This is a lot of This is the Moon in Libra. As a Moon in Libra person, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew I was a Moon in Libra, but as a Moon in Libra, where you kind of rely on everyone else to make a decision. It's easy to be indecisive. It's easy to be this or this or that. With the Moon in Libra, dealing with for one, it's squaring Venus, right? It's not happy. Venus in Cancer isn't happy with the Moon in Libra. Mars in Aries isn't happy with the Moon in Libra. Jupiter and Saturn isn't happy with the Moon in Libra. Like, the Moon in Libra is very much like it's in this center point where it can't move this way, it can't move that way. It's like really trying to balance everything, right? So it's kind of like the floor is lava on Friday, or Saturday, I should say. Let's check this shit out. There we go. Look at this. First, the Moon makes a square to Venus, then it makes a square to Jupiter, then it goes to opposite Mars, and then it squares Saturn. So there's this you can't make everyone happy. You can't make everyone happy. There's no such thing as perfectly balanced. You know what I mean? Gonna have to give a little, take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It takes two to tango. And I think as the Moon first squares Venus, it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I want this. And then the Moon squares Saturn. It's like, oh, or within the Moon squares Jupiter. It's like, well, I don't even know if I have enough room for this. And then the Moon goes opposite Mars. And it's like, well, I guess I can get rid of this. And then the Moon squares Saturn. And it's like, oh, I actually didn't want to get rid of this. This was sad. So, Saturday is kind of a lot of emotional pulling and tugging, okay? A lot of indecision. If you feel indecisive on Saturday, that's okay. You're probably going to end up having to make some type of decision. And the Sun goes into Virgo too. This is when also the Sun's going to be on Regulus. There's this, pride. There's this awareness. I'll never forget I can't forget their name. Someone tweeted a long time ago, like this is like years ago on Twitter. Someone was like, Virgo season's musty. And I can never not think of that when I think of Virgo season. But Saturday is looking really stressful. Saturday is looking extremely stressful. But the thing is, like when we talk about the rest of the week and how exciting the rest of the week is, you know, when you, if you're going to create a custom house, right? You're going to go, I want all of this in it, right? Like I'm sure a lot of you want to build a dream home. You're like, I want this in it, I want that in it, I want this in it, I want that in it. And it's like, you're going to have an architect tell you, it's like, well, we can do some of that, but we're not going to be able to do all of it. That's what Saturday is. It's like, what are you willing to let go of in order to make sure that you have, in order to make sure that you keep? And that's a hard decision. That's a hard thing to go through sometimes. Then we get into Sunday. And the moon will go into Scorpio and make an opposition to Uranus as Mars squares Saturn. That's where it like really kicks off. And that's where the flavor turns. The beginning of this week is like exciting. Like we're all hyping each other up only to go like into the lion's den essentially. And I don't think it's going to be super bad. But on Sunday with the moon going into Scorpio, something I always talk about with the moon in Scorpio is like there's this huge sense of scarcity, right? Like the moon in Scorpio is like the fucking toilet paper that we all saw with the coronavirus thing. It's like everyone's like, oh, gotta grab all this toilet paper because heaven fucking forbid I'm out of toilet paper. There's this sense of scarcity. There's this sense of, you know, it's so funny too because I talked about that in a weekly horoscope. Now that I remember, it was like there was the moon in Scorpio transiting opposite Venus and Taurus, and everyone was like going crazy at the store during then. Why does my nose itch so much? With the moon in Scorpio, there's this sense of scarcity. There's this sense of not having enough. There's this sense of having to like hold on to stuff, right? And as it's opposite Uranus, like there's a lot of volatility there. Like you can't hold on to shit that that's not even fucking guaranteed to you, right? Like you can't hold on to a maybe. You can't hold on to a what if. Like with Scorpio and Taurus too, like you've got to work in specifics. Like you can't be focused on hypotheticals here. And the other thing too is with the moon in Scorpio opposite Uranus, there's this scarcity, there's this, you know, wanting to hold on to stuff that you can't really hold on to necessarily. Look at this. Mars is also squaring Saturn. This isn't when it perfects. It perfects on Monday next week, which that's where it gets a lot more real. But with Mars squaring Saturn here, there is this like, hey, this isn't moving forward. Like you are going to come to a halt. If we're going to go back to my analogy of buying a house, it's like everything was moving forward. You guys were excited. You're moving into a house. And then it's like the bank comes back and they're like, oh, this was a problem and we want you to fix this on the house. And then it turns into this whole big, ordeal, right? Mars squaring Saturn is definitely like, you're going to stop. Like, there's no way around it. It's like hitting a pole. One of those car stop poles. I don't know if you guys, if you guys ever watch like accident videos and you see the little car poles at like Walmart or whatever. If you see a car hit those, like those cars stop. Those cars do not keep moving forward. They do a pretty good job. And that's kind of like what this Mars square Saturn is, right? Something's not moving forward. Something is getting in the way. It's like a parking boot on your car, and I don't know if I've never had a parking boot on my this thank God, but I know if I did, I would freak out and I'd probably lose it. And I just feel like this Mars square Saturn is like a good analogy of that. Like, and this isn't just like a stop and you're like, oh, why did we stop? It's like you're gonna stop and then you're gonna like lose it. You're gonna like freak out. Try not to freak out on Sunday. You might do it, but if you do, just get it out. Like I talked about this a while ago in my weekly horoscope when I got in a car accident. When I got in that car accident, it wasn't even that bad, but I was so pissed, and I got it all out there. At the second I got in that car wreck, I freaked out. No, and literally the guy didn't even get out of his car because he saw me like punching the shit out of my steering wheel and like going bananas in my car because I was so mad. He stayed in his car, which was a really good idea. And then I also let it out on that homeless guy, which, don't ask me for a fucking cigarette when I'm like freaking out. Just let it out if you need to get it out, right? Don't hold that shit in. It's not good. Get it out. And as Mars squares Saturn, also, if the universe says stop, stop. it's life's really about reading the fucking signs. This is something that I'll never forget, something that my dad taught me. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I've shared the story with you guys yet, but when I was a kid, we used to go on road trips all the time. And one time when I was like 8 years old, we pulled over in the middle of the fucking desert, and he just tosses me a map. This was before GPSs and shit. And he goes, I'm lost. You're going to have to figure out where we're going and how to get there. And I was like, what? And something after, like, I learned how to read the map, and when we were driving, he said something very profound to me, and it was, it's really not hard to, it's really easy to, like, not get lost, because all you have to really do is read the signs. Like, if you go driving around in America, all you have to do is read the signs, and you really won't get lost. All of the signs are there for you to follow. And that's just how fucking life is. Like, if you're driving in life and you see a stop sign, maybe you should stop and look both ways and then go. And, like, you never know. Like, here in LA the other day, I was literally, I'm cruising, because you accept traffic at some point. I've accepted traffic a long time ago, right? It's just something, it's like accepting death. It's like, it's just inevitable, right? So you're more patient driving. And I was driving through this, like, neighborhood, and I just go to the stop, and I look over, and this guy, this is a very tiny neighborhood. Like, in LA, there's all these speed bumps in all the small neighborhoods, and this dude's flying and just blows this stop sign, and he looks at me, he's like, thanks for stopping at the stop sign that I was supposed to stop at so he can fucking fly through it. And it's just like, wow, I'm really glad I sure listened to the sign that told me to do that, because if I was like, fuck this stop sign, no one's around here, I would have, got smacked. And anyway, just with Mars squaring Saturn as we end this week, like, it's okay to stop. It's okay to slow down. And it's also okay to give up, because that's another thing that really pisses me off. People are like, don't give up. No, if you want to give up, because I think the process of letting it go and you giving up, like, you're going to beat yourself up, and you're going to ask yourself, and it's going to shape you up to go, okay, if you're going to commit to something, you actually have to want to commit to it, because giving up sucks. It really hurts your ego. It really doesn't feel good. It makes you feel really weak. But I think letting go and giving up on shit that you don't even want to do is going to help you be clear about what it is that you do want to do. And I just think also, like, we're going through an unprecedented, fuck, I can't say the word. We're going through history right now. It's okay. Like, just stop. Just slow down. I know I got to tell myself the same thing. I'm fucking saying all this, and I'm going, damn it, Cameron. Like, how am I going to stop? Like, I don't know what I'm stopping too. So anyway, we get to next week. Next week, Mars squares Saturn to start the week off. Next week starts off super, super rough. Expect me with a really, really nasty thumbnail for next week. Next week, though, but Venus opposes Jupiter. Mercury trines Uranus. Venus trines Neptune. Mercury trines Jupiter. Mercury is opposite Neptune next week. There's a lot of missing links. Like, there's going to be a square. There's the stop that we get, and then next week it's like a whole bunch of answers come out of nowhere. Like, a whole bunch of new information and data comes. So it's going to suck, but there's more to the story. So stick around for more of the story next week. With that being said, that's what I've got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate you guys. And I'll be seeing you next week.